Ready to go live now? Awesome. Hi, everyone, and welcome to a live event of the Captioned Life show. In about a couple of months, at the beginning of May, we're going to have Indiana Comic Convention right here in Indianapolis. And to join us to talk about this great convention that's going to be happening in a few months is Ro from the Indiana Comic Convention. Ro, how you doing today?
Doing amazing. Thank you so much for having me.
Hey, thanks for joining us. I always love talking to people about anything nerdy or comics related, and I have to share with you my personal story of Indiana Comic Convention was the very first comic convention I ever attended. This was like back in 2019, and this was like, right before the pandemic shut down and everything. But I remember some of my buddies telling me that there's this thing called comic conventions that people go to, and that a lot of places have their own local ones. And I never heard about this my entire life. I wonder if Indiana had one, and sure enough, they did. So Indiana Comic Convention always has a special place in my heart because of that, because it kind of opened up the doors for me to go to a lot of different comic conventions. So,
I love hearing that.
yeah.
You always remember your first.
Yes, that's exactly right, and I absolutely loved it. So I appreciate you joining us and talking to us a little bit about Indiana Comic Convention. So let's start off and just say, want to ask you, for those who may not be familiar with Indiana Comic Convention, can you explain a little bit about what it is and what we should know about it, essentially?
Exactly. It's everything and anything. I get this question asked all the time. Hey, I've heard about the show. What does it entail? And I'm like, you name it, we got it. First of all, the best people watching you will ever do, because we're all inclusive. We invite anybody and everybody. It's a family-friendly event. Bring your mom, bring your grandpa, bring your cousins, bring those friends that you only hear from every once in a while, because it's happening and you don't want to miss out. It's a comic and pop culture convention all put together. That means we invite celebrities from all of your favorite fandoms. We're talking about from the comics, from pop culture, from streaming platforms to the big screens. We got it. We go ahead and announce almost weekly a different type of guest that comes through. You can check it out on all of our social media and website platforms. And then on top of that, we also invite comic creators, artists. There's artist tables from people that are local artists, national artists. We bring in vendors, local and national vendors, so you can get all of your geek and fandom merch, like all the merch that your heart desires. And also, remember, Christmas comes super early. So go ahead and grab that stuff. If you got people, geeks and nerds in your family that want to go ahead and grab some of that stuff. And then on top of that, we have different features and activities for you to enjoy. I mean, we have a show going on right now in Atlanta. It's this weekend. And I got videos of the Batmobile being taken into the venue. So you can expect some of that magic being brought over to Indiana in the month of May. It's a huge nerd, geek, pop culture, like phenomenon, celebration that we just want to share with everybody in the community.
I love hearing that. Yeah, just like you say, it's a little bit of everything for a lot of different people. So if you're interested in seeing the celebrities, there's definitely, celebrities and voice actors and comic creators will be there. If you're interested in seeing, what kind of merchandise or products that people are selling. And it's really cool because it's just like you said, a lot of national vendors, but also a lot of local and, not so far away people as well. We got people that come in from, all over the Midwest and even further than that to like sell a lot of different kinds of nerdy merchandise. So I remember last year when I went, there was something that was really cool where I've never seen this before, but somebody took like all these little different kinds of beads and put it together to make like an 8-bit figure of some of your favorite characters. Yes. I thought it was really cool. And I was just like, this is really creative. And so it's really neat to kind of see all the different creative things that people come up with that they sell as part of their livelihood. So you can go and buy different stuff, a lot of the traditional stuff or, a lot of unique stuff. And so it's a lot of fun just to kind of see, just the main hall. But then, there's panels that people put on, a lot of different kind of, fun trivia or educational panels that they have. And so it's really cool just to be able to go somewhere and geek out like that. So I love that.
And I love that you bring that up, because it's that, right? It's like, who else in your community geeks out like you do, right? This is the place to go ahead and just get your geek on, find your community, find your fandom family, go ahead and do all that. Because like you said, not just the celebrities that come through are super, popular. We also have the panels that you mentioned, because we will have like popular fandom panels. So talking about everything Harry Potter, talking about everything Star Wars, maybe a Dr. Horrible sing along. It's where you can come and just geek out and enjoy and just sit back and relax with people that have like-minded interests like you.
Yes, definitely. So talking about a little about Indiana Comic Convention, can you tell us a little bit about the history of Indiana Comic Con, like when it started and where it's kind of grown from there?
So I'm newer to the comic, like Indiana Comic Convention family, but I know this. Okay, like social media dates us back all the way as far back as 2013, but I believe we are celebrating our 11th year this year in 2023. So as far back as 2012, we've gone ahead and been around, right? There's been
Hmm.
a lot of different celebrities that have come through our doors, a lot of different people from the community, and it just kind of keeps growing and bubbling up. But this is one of the best things about having a yearly event. We just keep adding to that foundation, right? We keep
Hmm.
seeing what the Indianapolis community wants. We go ahead and try to bring it together to just make the best like comic and pop culture convention that we possibly can, right? While still supporting some of our other friends in the industry that are also in Indiana.
Awesome. Great. Thank you. Well, let's talk a little bit about some of the guests that Indiana Comic Convention has announced. I think the first line of guests you all announced a few weeks ago, and then over the weekend you announced a couple more, and then I think just yesterday or the day before you announced another one. So let's go ahead and start off with the first guest that was announced, and that is Charlie Hunnam. What can you say about Charlie coming to the convention this year?
First of all, that's our Oprah moment right there because we're like, you get a celebrity guest and you get a celebrity guest, and every week there's a celebrity guest. We
Yeah.
love what our booking and ownership team do because we're able to go ahead and announce people like Charlie Hunnam, and a lot of people recognize him from Sons of Anarchy and just Green Street Hooligans, and he's a household favorite. And
Hmm.
for those new viewers, for those people that are new to comic conventions, when you come to Indiana Comic Convention, you have the opportunity to purchase a photo op and or autograph with these celebrity guests. So if you're like me that has always struggled, how do I get the VIP ticket? How do I get the backstage pass? How can I meet some of these stars that I've seen? You come to Indiana Comic Convention, you see who's on the guest list. The website will take you right to it, and you literally like one of the times I had at one of the shows at Elijah Wood, like I was giving him a piggyback ride, doing the Frodo and like, best buddy thing. It's just so freaking cool and it's awesome and amazing. And Charlie Hunnam's coming through. He's our first, on the website. He's like the newest one that we have right there. But we know we've announced him along with many other people. So yeah,
Yes.
he's a household favorite.
Yes. Yeah. And so some of the other ones, other guests that you have also mentioned is we have D. Bradley Baker that's coming in that is known for some of his work with Disney and Star Wars. And then we also have Jodie Benson, who, as a lot of people probably recall her, is the voice of Ariel from the popular animated movie that came out in late 80s, early 90s. I think it's 1989, if I remember correctly. And then we have John Glover, who a lot of people will know him from a lot of different things, but he's also known as the voice actor for the Riddler that is from Batman the Animated Series.
That's
And then
right.
we also have Kieran Walters, who currently plays Jason Todd in the Teen Titans show on HBO Max. We have
Mm-hmm.
Sean Schimmel, who I don't know this person specifically, but judging from the graphics and everything, I could tell that this is from Dragon Ball Z, I think, Goku.
That's right. That's
Yes.
right. Mm-hmm.
I'm very new to anime, so I'm still trying to get my head around like all the different properties that are out there and everything. So
All good. Get your Goku on because you're not going to want to miss Sean Kemp.
yeah, right. And then the last two we have is Tom Welling, who again has been a lot of different roles, but for comic fans, they will recognize him as the person that played Clark Kent / Superman in the series Smallville that was out in the late '90s, early 2000s. And then last but not least, we have James Arnold Taylor, who, again, I don't know this person personally, but it looks like from the graphic here, he is the voice of Obi-Wan Kenobi from some of the animated shows as well.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Star Wars, the Clone Wars. Yeah.
Yes, yeah. So, and this is just like the start of it. Usually, there's a lot more guests that gets announced closer to time and everything. And I know that right now we see a lot of celebrities and actors being announced here. What about like comic creators? Do you know anything about like comic creators that usually come to comic conventions and what that's like for those who are wanting to come this year?
That's right. For everybody that's interested, we will be announcing our comic artists and comic creators in the next upcoming weeks leading up to the show. And we try to do something special. Like I mentioned, it's inclusive, it's a family friendly event. We try to make it as affordable as possible, which is if we're besties, we trust each other. We have an early bird special that we held before we started announcing guests. It was 25% off tickets to make it. We know how expensive events can get, especially if you have a family, right? Everything kind of piles up, which is why we kind of host these little promotions. Now, that special just went away once we started announcing guests, but we are still running another promotion to make tickets as affordable as possible. So if you see the starting lineup that we have of celebrities, come on, go ahead and go to the website, click on there, get your tickets, because we also have different options, right? That for anybody that's interested, we will be announcing comic creators and artists. Like, have faith, because they're going to come through and you are going to be amazed at who's going to be there.
Right. Awesome. Yeah. And I loved all the guests that we had before in the previous comic conventions. And I got to say, like, you know, there's just a little bit of everything for everybody to love with that. And guests is just one part of it. I know for me personally, I go to comic convention not specifically for the guests. There's been a lot of great guests that's come in the past and everything. And they've been really cool. And I'm really excited about some of these that are coming this year as well, too. And what's really cool is that with the guests in years past, you kind of see them out in the main vendor hall as well, too. So, like, you know, whenever you go to a comic convention, usually there's the main exhibition hall where you see all the vendors and you see all the little areas and things like that. And sometimes conventions might have their guests doing photo ops and autographs in that same area, or it might be in a completely different area. What's really cool with Indiana Comic Convention at the Comic Convention in Indianapolis is that usually those photo ops and autographs are in that same exhibition area. And so it's really cool that even if you're not planning on going to get an autograph or get a photograph, you could still see them from a distance and kind of, you know, be like, oh, I'm that close to this person here and everything. And so it's a really cool experience just to kind of go to that. And, you know, even if you don't, you know, go see them to get the tickets and for the photographs or autograph, it's still really cool to maybe see them at a distance and all that. But again, you know, all the vendors are there, all the programming, all the panels and everything. Is there, you talked about how this is a family-friendly event and we tried to make that as family-friendly as possible. What about some of the other programming things that we can expect that will happen this year at Indiana Comic Convention? Is there something that you're particularly excited about or something new this year that we can expect?
Everything. I usually have to go ahead and take a chill pill because I get so excited talking about this. And I love what you brought up in the programming realm, panels. Because sometimes people that are new to conventions, they go like, what is a panel, right? And how can I see some of my favorite celebrities that are on the guest list? Well, you know, for everybody that's watching that's new, welcome to the family. When you go into a panel room, it's on a schedule that we have, including, you know, our app that we'll go ahead and display for everybody to go ahead and download. But you go into a panel and there's your star. There's the person that you're looking at. They're on stage, sometimes with a moderator, sometimes not. And they're addressing the crowd. And this is your time to go ahead and listen to different stories that they have. Sometimes they have also a Q&A. So if you're able to go hop in that line super quick, you have the opportunity to even ask people like Charlie Hunnam or Tom Welling, if they're doing Q&As, like a question that you might have had. So it's a really cool experience. It's something that's fun and something that's you rarely go ahead and see unless you go to events like this, right?
Right.
But on the other side, some of the other things that some of the other programming surprises that we have, of course, you mentioned family friendly. We have the Star Wars Indiana cosplay group, the 501st. They're going to be coming through.
Yes.
If you have little ones, and this is what I always tell people, hey, you didn't make it to Disneyland this year. Guess what? We're bringing the Stormtroopers. We're bringing the Jedis. We're bringing Darth Vader, and they're all getting together. It's the best place to go ahead and get those pictures. If you got family, if you're a fan of those fandoms, but also if you're a content creator nowadays, right?
Yeah.
So coupled along with that, we also have Penguin Knife Fight. They're amazing. They're like 5 improv comedian performances throughout the weekend. It's a blast. It's somewhere where you can go to their panel and they just put on a spectacular show, and it's included with the price of your ticket. So when I mention these panels, you don't have to pay extra to get into them, right? Unless we say, hey, this is an official paid panel. Rarely do we do that. Usually it's included with the price of admission. You go in there and have a blast. Right. Designated debaters. Our programming director tells me that I have my cheat sheet here. They're comedic superhero debates. So if you ever wondered which is which, and if you ever have a topic or anything, go into that. Designated debaters. That's where you can argue your little comic geek heart out, because we all do. There's always a conversation within our community where we're like, wait, excuse me.
Right.
You know?
Right.
We also see that we have the great and powerful Tim. He's a nerdy he provides nerdy magic. He's an awesome performer. We have him every single year. Durez Virtual Reality. They provide VR experiences. Usually, here's the secret. We have board games, and we usually have some game consoles that come through. We have different performances. We have the celebrity panels that you mentioned, which are in our biggest ballroom that we have over at the event. Like I said in the beginning, there's just so much for you to experience, right?
Hmm.
It's a blast, you know. And again, all of this information is going to be coming through our social media channels. We haven't announced the programming activities that I just mentioned, so you get it here as an exclusive. These are the things that are coming your way. But not only that, it's 3 days worth of activities, so there's always something to do.
Yes. Yeah. No, and I love that you shared all those things because like what you said, all the panels, at least the years I've gone in the past, like I don't think I've ever seen a panel where there was, charge something. So if it is something, it's something like really rare for that. But all the panels are typically free. Indiana Comic Convention does a pretty good job of allowing people to know which ones are like family friendly and which ones are like 21 and over as well too. And that's nice because like you don't want to take your kid in, and then all of a sudden like they're hearing things that they shouldn't be hearing or anything like that. But I also enjoyed the fact that kind of like what you're saying before, it's trying to be inclusive to a lot of people. So, not just families, but, for young adults and people who, enjoy, I think, and I can't remember for sure. So correct me if I'm wrong, but I think Indiana Comic Convention sometimes have like after hours where I don't think they officially host it, but they say that, a lot of people will go to like one of the local bars to kind of like keep the, geekiness going or something like that. So it's a lot of fun. They have a lot of different opportunities and a lot of different experiences for people. And just like you said, it ranges from people who put on like magic shows, comedy shows. I remember there was one I went to one year where somebody actually put on some sort of educational panel where they talked about comics and mental health. And this person was a licensed therapist, if I remember correctly. And it was really insightful. I remember learning a lot from that as well. And so that's really cool about the panel side for Indiana Comic Convention is that it's a little bit of everything and that there's going to be something that you'll probably be interested in. So even though you can go around through the vendor halls and get to meet a lot of different people and see what people are selling and buy stuff and things like that, there's a lot of panels that you might be interested in and that you can either, have fun with the, with the comedy show or the trivia. You might, find something that's educational. There might be, like panels or like, yeah, I guess panels is what you call it, but like when you have like multiple people that'll be up there and they'll kind of speak about their experiences of, what it's like to be, this kind of creator or, to be a cosplayer or someone who's in the comic industry or things like that. And so it's really cool to see all the different kinds of panels are out there that Indiana Comic Convention puts on. And the fun thing about this is that a lot of these are submitted by people who are interested. And so it's not like these are necessarily sponsored. I mean, there's some people who go in to kind of promote their own work and stuff like that, but it's, anyone can submit like a panel that they might want to put on and be able to, kind of put whatever they want out there. And so it's kind of open to a lot of people. It's not just, people who are, paying for services or anything like that, because that's not what happens with here. But it's really open to anyone who has an interest in putting on a panel. Anyone is encouraged to do so. And so I really like that part about Indiana Comic Convention.
No, hey, and we appreciate that. Like you mentioned, right now we have an application process, right? So people can go to the website or check out our social media platforms. They can see where they can submit an idea for a panel. So if they're interested, if they have a passion for something, or maybe they're an expert, or have experience in a certain thing, pitch it on over to our programming director. She filters through them. But if for some reason they pass on the idea this time, maybe it's because somebody else has already been approved with a similar idea. Don't let that get you down. Go ahead and just kind of go back to the drawing board. Go ahead and submit something else, because chances are you might get picked up. But like you mentioned, like as the day progresses and the little ones get a little sleepy and they want to go home and maybe other people want to keep playing, we have those panels after hours. And right when you get to the room, usually there's a board, some signage on an easel, and it'll tell you if like, hey, this is 18 plus. Usually it's because the filter's out that late at night. Maybe we want to say a couple of choice words, and it's all positive. It's all in a welcoming environment, right? But just to give you a heads up as to what to expect, because like on the other side of the spectrum, you mentioned Jodie Benson, the voice of the Little Mermaid's going to be there. I've been in panel rooms where she has sang as the Little Mermaid, and it is just amazing and mind-blowing. And then later on at night, I go to the Rocky Horror like picture show, like sing along, or like they're doing a performance in person, right? So
Yeah, yeah.
I went a little 18 and older, right? But always with people that you can laugh with, and it's always a fun and amazing panel. But that's what we want to do. We want to get the community involved, and honestly, that's the other thing. It's like I go to it again. It's a place where you can go and celebrate your interests and your likes with people that have the same taste, right?
Right, exactly. Yeah. So we talked about the vendors, we talked about guests, we talked about panels and everything. One of the things that I didn't have on the list, and so I know I'm kind of throw this out, out of left field for you, Ro, but for people who are maybe coming out of town and maybe want to come and stay here, basically, right? I know that Indiana Comic Convention has some deals with some of the local hotels, and there are some hotels that are actually connected to or very, very close to the convention center. And I think Indiana Comic Convention has some of those deals are still out there. Is that correct, or has that passed now?
I love that you bring that up right now. The website's on my second screen. We're currently the Westin Indianapolis. They have a promotion with us. Go to our website on the top bar. You'll see hotel and travel. Click on that. It'll give you all the information you need, and you'll get hooked up with some of our friends from the show, right? Expect one or two other like hotels in the next couple of weeks. If you see that maybe those options, you're like, I don't know if this is for me, stay tuned. We'll go ahead and announce some of our other partner hotels in the next little bit. And yeah, we'll try to hook everybody up, just so that to make it a little bit easier to come and, celebrate with us.
Yeah, definitely. Well, and one of the things I absolutely love about Indianapolis in general is that even if you don't get some of those hotel blocks for whatever reason, there's a lot of options for hotels. I know, there's a lot of options for Airbnb and Vrbo there's a lot of places that you can rent out that are really close to the convention center in the area. In terms of parking, if you're driving up here, there's going to be a lot of available parking spaces. Some of them are going to be really close to the convention center. Some of them is going to be a little bit further away, but with it being May, it's going to be kind of a nice leisure walk to go there as well too. Now, saying that, though, I do have to point out that Indiana Comic Convention is the same weekend as the biggest running marathon in Indianapolis, the Indiana Mini Marathon. And so when people are coming on Saturday, they just have to keep that in mind, that it's going to be chaotic to try to get down to Indianapolis, especially with the Indiana Mini Marathon where it's at. It's like right outside the convention center as well, too.
So thank you for bringing that up. Thank you so much. Here's the other beauty about it. We're in talks with them over there, and any road closures that are going to happen, if they go back to our website, there's, I'm looking at it right now, there's directions and parking. We'll update that information as we get it, so that way people can kind of be in the know and decide whether they want to take public transportation over there or a different course. Yeah.
Right. Yeah, that's totally great. And that's good to know. And I think that's good to know for anybody who is coming, especially, if they're not from Indianapolis area, they might not even know about this event that's happening as well, too. So,
That's right.
But yeah, so it sounds like there's definitely going to be at least some options to make sure that you get down there. I think the mini marathon lasts until about maybe noon or so. So, and I think the convention usually on Saturday doesn't start until like 10 or 11 anyways. And so if you want to wait until a little bit later where the traffic has died down and then the closures is probably gone by then, then, it's really, we're looking at the morning that might be a little bit chaotic to try to get in. But if you wait until early afternoon, you're probably going to be able to get in without a problem as well. So,
Exactly.
Yeah. So last thing I wanted to ask you before we wrap things up, actually there's going to be two things, but about the Indiana Comic Convention, because this show is a show about comic books and graphic novels, things like that. I just want to give you a chance to put one last plug in. Like, as a comic convention, what makes this comic convention really special for those who are fans of comic books and graphic novels?
I love that you bring that up. And so here's the thing. We take place the week of Cinco de Mayo, May 5th, right? And everybody knows that time of the year as Free Comic Book Day during that week, right?
Right.
We're in talks, we're reaching out to certain comic book shops because we want to go ahead and make sure we're part of the community. We're in talks to see if we can do something special with them to go ahead and make sure that people know to support local. Support your local comic book shops, support your local comic book artists. A lot of them are going to be there at the event, selling some of their stuff. And this is what we want to do. We want to go ahead and gather a partnership and a relationship with all the local stores and shops. So that way we go ahead and share some of the love. we go ahead. We're an event that brings a lot of people together, but we can also go ahead and share that love with a lot of local shops, a lot of local vendors, a lot of local artists who have the opportunity to not just be at the show, but also to partner with us all year round.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, what separates us, or maybe what makes me feel special being a part of this event, is that we have like an open door policy. Reach out to us if you have a business that you think fits our audience, and you want to be a part of this awesome and amazing convention. Well, go ahead and hit us up. Partnerships, sponsorships. You'll be in communication with me and my team. We have an awesome marketing team and other people that are super passionate about what we do. We want to make sure that we're inclusive of everybody in the community of Indianapolis, in the state and the neighboring states. Come on through. And it's just, we want to make sure that people feel included in the conversation. You mentioned the panels and like how people can apply. You can be right now watching this on your couch or on your mobile device. You can be on the bus, wherever. You can apply to go ahead and let your voice be heard on our stage, where so many other people have gone ahead and done it. It's your event. Make it yours. Come on through, participate in whatever way. Hey, if you want to come to the event and get paid for it, you can even apply to be on our crew, and you can go ahead and enjoy the show, help some people out, make some change, put it in your pocket along the way. So I think that's that's kind of what sets us apart, makes it special, is that, we have other friends in the industry that make it inclusive, but we try to do it as much as possible as well,
That's awesome. Well, and I love that you brought up Free Comic Book Day, because it is that same weekend. So it's almost like the trifecta of what's happening that weekend, right? In addition to Cinco de Mayo as well. But I love hearing that you're talking to the local comic shops in the area. And I know for me, there's a lot of local comic shops in Indianapolis, and I don't think people realize that how many there are. I know for me, I'll just give like the three I usually go to as a shout out is Downtown Comics, Comic Book University, and Circle City Comics. They are all fantastic. And that's only probably a third of the comic shops that's in Indianapolis. And what's really cool is that these comic shops are really, they're really great people, and they have a great community that are part of these shops, and that comics are what really brings people together. And so what makes local comic shops really unique in that aspect is that it's a community that kind of just goes a little bit above and beyond just, going there to just buy something as well too. So I love to hear that, because that's Free Comic Book Day, you all are working to try to partner with them and trying to make sure that, they get these opportunities and that they're supported and everything like that. So I love hearing that, and that's really great. Somebody had actually made a comment in here that I want to share with you as well too, because I think this is really cool to hear. But William Metro said, "Crazy excited for this year. Couldn't go last year due to the big C and chemo treatments. But I am in remission now and feeling great. Full to a 10." I love hearing that. That's so great. That's amazing.
That is amazing.
Yes, I love that.
And we hear so many different things. Like, I mean, hey, first of all, congratulations on that.
Yes.
That is incredible. I'm going to tell our staff,
awesome.
We're going to go ahead and party, send all the best vibes. But we hear these stories because, like you mentioned, it is a community. Sometimes you go to your local comic shop, they know your name. Sometimes they have your order on reserve. They're like, oh yeah, by the way, this issue of Batman or so-and-so, we have it. We put it aside for you. It's just that community that you don't get anywhere else. And when I've seen people get engaged at our events before, I've seen people get married at our events before. There was one Star Trek panel, I'll never forget it. This gentleman in a wheelchair goes up to do the Q&A, right, to ask a question. But he said, I don't have a question, but I was overseas, and a situation happened. And while I was in the hospital getting treated, I kept playing it just kept streaming your episodes. And that's what helped me get through to the next day.
That's amazing.
And it was one of those I'm not crying, you're crying moments. Yeah. It wasn't a dry eye in the house. Everybody gets off their chairs and they go to give them a hug. It's what brings us together, And sometimes people ask me, they're like, hey, well, these are just shows, or these are just these celebrities. I'm like, you don't get it. To some of us, it means so much more. These comics, these graphic novels, these authors, or these personalities. And sometimes all we need is just an experience like this to be in the same room, or get that picture, or get the autograph for, a family member or a friend that would really love it. And so that's why I get excited. That's why I get emotional, because we just want everybody to come together and enjoy.
Yeah. Well, and I think that Indiana Comic Convention this year is going to be great for that. And, every year I've gone, it's always been a great experience. There's always something new to enjoy. And, I get to connect with other people and people who enjoy comics or enjoy Star Wars or anything and everything that especially the cosplay. Like we haven't even talked about the cosplay for any
Woo!
comic convention. That's one of the things that my son and I absolutely love about the comic convention is doing the cosplay, and they are just fantastic. Like if you're only vaguely familiar with cosplay, there are people who put in a lot of work on their cosplays. I remember one year when I went to Indiana Comic Convention, I was just so amazed by some of the work that they made it so realistic, and they just go above and beyond what people do for their cosplays, and it's just fantastic to see the kind of artwork and the craftsmanship that they put into these costumes to make it so realistic, so unique. A lot of people do like these mashups of characters that they really enjoy, and it's so cool to think of like how they can get creative with some of those things like that. And so so that's like another community of people that are really phenomenal and really great that uses Indiana Comic Convention as that way to geek out about cosplay and their favorite characters and things like that. And so Indiana Comic Convention this year I think is going to be a lot of fun and just going to be a joy to go participate again this year. So
I love that you brought that up, because our program director would have killed me if I didn't talk about this.
Yeah.
Troy, she's in charge of putting together the cosplay contest for Indiana Comic Convention. She's done an incredible job. Guess what? If anybody that's listening, you can still apply. The best in show, I'm looking at the prize money right now. Best in show, $1,500 for best in show.
Nice.
Not only that, you have different opportunities. If you mentioned people that are newer to cosplay, maybe they're starting on their first one ever, they're dipping their foot into the competition pool. Well, there's there's a youth category, novice category, intermediate, group, and masters. So there's a level for everybody. And of course, the best in show takes away that $1,500. But it is such a cool experience to just do it, get on up there, and have people appreciate the work that you put in. Like you mentioned, some people go hard from months to a year to put their stuff together. They get so creative. I'll never forget the first contest that I put together. There was a young gentleman that gets up on stage. I take the mic over to him and I go, "Tell me about your cosplay. How'd you put it together?" He goes, "Well, this one right here on my shoulder, it's some Tupperware a new Tupperware from my mom. Don't tell her I did it, because she still doesn't know."
That's awesome.
They just mind-blowingly creative, and it's an incredible place. And like I mentioned before, best place to people watch, because especially if you have little ones that like all these things, or if me personally, I constantly ask cosplayers, "Hey, can I get a picture? Can I get a picture?" Because they come up with some of the most creative things, right?
Yes.
So it's super cool to see.
Yeah. And my kid absolutely loves that part of doing the cosplay as well, too, because not only he gets to take pictures with some of his favorite characters out there, but there'll be people that come up and say they want to take pictures of him. And so he feels like a rock star when that happens, like his eyes light up and he gets a big smile. He's like, "Oh my God, somebody took a picture with me," and he absolutely loves that.
That is so cool. It just feeds their creativity, their confidence, social skills, everything, right?
It does.
So it's really fun.
Yeah. Oh yeah. And it's so great. And it's really cool because you really get to see a lot of people just really, as we talked about this, come together in a way that they probably haven't done it before in anywhere else. And I just can't imagine, like me or my kid being able to go to another place like this that would be able to allow us to have fun on that large of a scale as well too. Like we have friends that does that, but like, to get a large group of people together, it's a lot of fun to be able to do that at the comic convention.
Hey, we're gonna up it, because we have cosplay meetups too. So if you have, let's say you're from a different fandom, like Star Wars, you can go ahead and submit to get together everybody into one big group picture. Cosplay meetups. Look at the website. You'll see all the info. It's super fun.
Yeah. Oh, those are great. I love that. Yeah. So we'll definitely look that up. Ro, last question for you before I let you go. This is a question I ask all my guests on my show, and so I know this is, again, a kind of like a curveball for you as well, too, but everybody has an origin story when it comes to something, right? Whether it comes to comic books or comic conventions or things like that. I'll give you an option. Do you want to share your origin story with either comic conventions or comic books that you want to share with us?
Woo! Can I do it about the world of pop culture?
Yeah, let's do that. Yeah. Yeah,
Okay.
honestly, I didn't give you a heads up. So like whatever you want to do, I think that's fair. And yeah, pop culture, I'm game with that. Because again, I say it's about comic books, but we talk about pop culture here a lot too. So
So they bring this up from time to time, like over at the office. So
mhm.
my origin story of entertainment and getting involved with these shows. So back in the day, in a former life, I was a professional hip hop dancer for the TV and film industry.
Oh,
And
cool.
that's right. Our headquarters is in Salt Lake City, Utah, where I'm streaming from right now. And
Nice.
and there's a little show that got filmed here called High School Musical. And I auditioned along with what seemed like everybody else in Utah.
Right.
And I made it. And for some reason, they're like, "Yeah, you're in." I'm like, "Great. What does that mean?" They go, because back then I still have the script. It says Untitled High School Musical. They didn't know what to call it.
Oh, no kidding.
So there's, I'm there at lunch, just around with some of the other dancers. There's this guy named Zach, Zach Efron. I don't know if anybody knows him. I wonder what he's up to nowadays. And where I'm like, okay, it's gonna be, just a cable movie. I'm like, cool, nice, awesome, great to work with you. And then something happened where people watched it and they decided to have a second one.
Hmm.
So I auditioned for that and I was able to make it along with, 11 other principal dancers. So an official Wildcat, number 00 on the team. But I became, like, along with Jared and Bailey, I became an assistant choreographer for the show. And then there was a third one that hit the big screen.
Yeah.
So this face was up on there. And so it just, like, in Utah, that's my claim to fame. I was able to work on that project and feel so fortunate and blessed. But it led me over to other things in entertainment. And all of a sudden, they brought me into this comic convention world. They're like, "Hey, would you mind interviewing some people?" I said, "Sure." And then they're like, "Hey, we need some help backstage." So I literally put on that volunteer shirt. And ever since then, I've just been part of this world. And it opened up my eyes to graphic novels and manga and animes that I've never heard of, and the world of cosplay, like you talked about. And it was just like, I say that because it led me to this other huge world where I was like, I didn't know this existed. And I didn't know there was this community. And I didn't know that we could all party together for 3 days out of the year. And nobody looks at you weird because
Right. Yeah.
you all get it. And it's an incredible feeling. And that's my origin story of how I got involved into this world.
That is amazing. I'm glad I asked you that question because that is just a phenomenal story to hear. Thank you very much. That's so cool.
Thank you.
All right.
Thanks, brother.
Well, Ro, thanks again for joining the show. Again, Indiana Comic Convention is going to be held May 5th through the 7th this year in Indianapolis, Indiana, at the Indiana Comic Convention Hall downtown. Ro, anything else that you want to share before I let you go?
Check us out. Let's be friends. Let's be a part of the community. Go to Indiana Comic Convention on all our social handles: Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, the website. And also, here's the thing. The newsletter has a lot, like the weekly newsletter has a lot of just updates, right? Like, basically, if you miss some information, it's on there. If you want to go ahead and feel a teaser about the next celebrity that's going to be announced, it's on there. It's where you can get all the news and updates. It's a great thing to have. We're not going to spam you. You can always opt out. But it's just a great source of information to get ready for May, because you're going to want to go ahead and get your tickets. Come join your new family. Let's be friends.
Awesome. Well, thanks again, Ro. Thanks for joining us. And I appreciate everyone jumping on this live and watching us. And hopefully we'll see everybody in May.
Thank you so much for the invite. I appreciate you. And I can't wait to see you and your son in cosplay at the show.
Yes, we will definitely see that.